so I thought I'd better do a 12-month review of owning the F900GS. 12 months I've owned it, done about 6,500 kilometers. Did plan on doing a lot more, but some of you may know I broke my leg, so I was out of action for a fair while. So 6,500 kilometers, and I would say 95% of that would be off-road. Multi-day rides, moto camping, just general touring, mainly going through the big high country. That's my use for it, and this is my experience with it. Why did I buy it? Well, there are other bikes on the market that are probably better, but this is fairly close to those. But the 5-year warranty, the specs on the bike, coming with the suspension that you don't have to spend any money on, when you factor that in, it becomes a lot more competitive with its competitors. They're the main reasons, and I know the brand BMW. I've had BMW road bikes for a long time. If you have a problem with them, not that there really is much that goes wrong with them, but if you do have a problem, their customer service is spot on. That was another reason I decided to stick with the F900, and this was brand new. It hadn't even landed in Australia yet. You know, the old story, you don't buy the first model. So I was going to pull the trigger on the Ducati X, but the air filter was a problem for me. Yeah, you can practice at it and get better, I get that, but this is just super easy. The 890, you know, KTM have just lost me as a brand. They've genuinely lost 2 sales from me with an 890 Adventure R and a Super Duke 1290. The customer support is terrible, so KTM, slap a 5-year warranty on it, change your tune, and we'll talk then. I ordered this bike when it was, you know, brand new, so I slapped my money down on it, and yeah, 3 months later, I got one. Got a pretty good deal on something that you had to order in, to be honest. I got a couple of grand off it, so I was happy with that. Just negotiated, mostly because I'd bought through this dealer a few times. They were happy to see me coming back and look after me there. So basic mods, I got the Andy straps, pannier racks, and his canvas bags. They're 35 litres. Hepco and Becker upper and lower crash bars. Pucks I got just to help you grip the bike a little bit more when you're climbing some hills. Got rid of the resonator box on the pipe, so it does sound a lot better. So what do I like about the F900GS Enduro? So I like the tech, the traction, the ABS, the cruise, the heated grips, the quick shifter, auto blipper, you know, just a big fan of that stuff. So each their own. Some people say there are more things that can go wrong. Yeah, I get that old school simplistic approach when you're in the middle of nowhere is an advantage, but I sort of like my toys as well. So the TFT screen is something else that I really enjoy. It's crystal clear, it's easy to use. Traction control, not an issue off-road in Enduro Pro. Even in Enduro, gives you some slip. On the road, dynamic is the most aggressive, and it's supposed to be for road bias tyres, but I still ride it with these knobbies on, and I don't find it to be too much of a hassle, provided the surface is good. And then road mode, a lot more intervention on your ABS and your traction control. But off-road, talk about ABS. You cannot turn the front ABS off on this. As far as I'm aware, I haven't been able to work out how to do it. Enduro Pro will turn the ABS off on the rear wheel, and it will give you the least intervention on the front. And that's fine for everything I've ridden on. In Enduro mode, I did find a couple of times that the ABS would make me run on, and that gets your attention pretty quick. Corrugated downhill, whatever. Pretty technical sort of terrain. Yeah, just wasn't a fan. So just nice open flat roads when you sort of want to chill out and go for a cruise. Enduro's good, otherwise Enduro Pro for me. But that will let you light up the rear a fair way, enough to make you come off. It's not gonna save you for everything, so don't rely on it too heavily. On the rider modes, I've got pre-selected, the 4 pre-selected. I've got road, dynamic, Enduro, and Enduro Pro. You can change them on the fly. They're quite easy to do. The power, there's plenty of power on tap. I think it's claimed to be 105 horsepower or something. I'm never left wanting for more power. You know, you get out on the road, it's still great fun in the twisties. It's more than enough on the dirt. Fully loaded up, it's no worries. If you were gonna pillion a lot, yeah, potentially might become a hassle. When you got it in dynamic mode, the pipe crackles and pops a lot more and really becomes engaging. I really like it, especially with that link pipe that I've put on. So the ergos, standing is no worries, it's comfortable. I do think that the bar risers are a bit of a gimmick and maybe put you in a bit more of a upright position. I'm going to change them. I just haven't got around to it. Got to get some new bolts, shorter bolts to order, and then you can remove the bar risers and it'll just drop you down a little bit more into a more of a tack position. Seating, no worries, sit all day. The seat's comfortable, your leg position's comfortable. You can ride it absolutely all day, no worries at all. It's not a dirt bike. She's fairly broad and solid and heavy, 220 kilos, and it was 220 kilos, but then I put crash bars, racks on it. I carry fuel bladders and whatever else because we'll get to it in a minute, but the fuel tank is not the biggest. But once you get on it, its weight just goes away like a lot of bikes and it becomes nimble. It is kind of a tall, this is a standard seat, and I'm just under 6 foot. Does become a little bit tippy. I've never had a problem with seat height, but this is getting right to my limit. So if you're a little bit shorter, I would definitely opt for the lower seat version. The suspension is just next level for standard suspension, you know. The shower stuff is really good components, and that ZF shock I've not had an issue with it. It responds on the clickers, no worries, and it's really good to use. Some basic preload. It's easy to dial in out on the tracks, you know, no tools required. And like I said, when you consider that you don't have to spend any money on this suspension, minimum $2,000 usually for suspension, minimum. You can spend a lot more. You factor that into the price of this bike compared to its competitors, and this becomes really attractive. The standout feature for me is the suspension of this bike, its tech, and that BMW support. Looks, they're objective. I like the look of it. There's a couple of other colours that are quite different to this. You can just get black, or you can get that red and passion or something. So reliability, I wore some brake pads out in like 4,000 kilometers, but I've been riding a lot of silty, sandy sort of stuff. So I'm not sure if it's just that the compound was maybe a little bit soft. They were Brembos, but yeah, didn't get long out of them at all. That is a wear item though. And as some of you may be aware, the head stem came loose on this, so had to make up a tool to fit it, and then it was easy to do, just re-torque it down. It was just a job that had to be done. Didn't leave me stranded on the track or anything like that. So the dislikes, let's just go into the dislikes, and there isn't many. I knew what I was getting into with the tank. I knew the tank was small. Fuel range in real world, for me, riding it how I want, I will run out of fuel, empty, completely stopped on the side of the road at 265 kilometers. Doesn't really change too much. Perhaps if you're in a lot of sand, it would obviously go, fuel consumption would go up and your mileage would go down. I have an 8 litre fuel bladder, which just sits on the back and it doesn't bother me. That gets me up around 400 then. I carry it with me most times just for that fuel range anxiety, but I very rarely need it. Yeah, 14 litre tank, not ideal, but I knew what I was getting myself into and I can live with it. The screen looks good, does something, but it's not great. There's aftermarket options out there for that, so yeah, not a problem. The only other serious gripe I would have is the foot levers, especially the quick shifter side. It has billet aluminium lever, and this is aftermarket. I put this folding tip on because when I broke my leg, I did bend that. I feel like they could do better with that. There are aftermarket options, but I'm not sure if I'm happy with the billet aluminium. It's easily damaged. And that's it. There's not a lot that I don't like about this bike. It's fun, it's reliable, it's got plenty of tech, plenty of power. There are some reports of cracking on the exhaust mount and some cracking on the support for the main dash. I'm not sure if that's because people are overloading the top bar. So I don't use the BMW mount. I've got a quad lock for my phone and that's it. But there are reports of it failing down here, and BMW are working on a fix. You know, I would say I've used this bike for its intended purpose and I've not had any reliability issues. I did lose one of the luggage bobbins. You know, you do have to check your bolts regularly. This one I did lose on a ride, potentially because I had the racks mounted to it as well, put more load through it. Would I replace it, and what would I replace it with? If I was going to do different riding, you know, I'd go back to a dual sport. It's not worth stepping down to a T7. They are a little bit more capable off-road, but the rider really becomes a factor too. And I think I'll just persevere with the 900 because I love the power. This thing handles well. The 21-inch wheel is good. The tubeless rims are good. Some guys love tubed rims, some love tubeless. I'm a tubeless guy. Run decent tubeless tyres, and you're not gonna get into a position where, you know, you've totally slashed the sidewall. Might just be a puncture that you plug. I've ran plugs for the rest of the tyres life. They're supposed to be a get you by sort of job, but I just run with them. I never had a problem. So thanks for watching my review of the F900GS. If you've got any other questions, put them in the comments.